GM Lawrence Frank to start working on a contract extension for Lou. Lou has a year remaining on his contract, but Ballmer is making sure the Lakers don't get a chance to offer Lou and the Clippers a buyout settlement. Lou's name came up as a potential candidate for the Lakers job after Darvin Ham was fired on Friday. Lou said he would prefer to stay with the Clippers. Lou has led the Clippers to the playoffs in 3 of the 4 seasons he's been with the team. They were in the Western Conference Finals in 2021. The Black College World Series starts Wednesday in Montgomery, Alabama. 16 teams will converge in Montgomery for the 3-day tournament. Albany State, Savannah State, and West Virginia State are among the participating HBCU schools. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversations when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, it's Tavis Smiley. First, thank you for your support of KBLA Talk 1580. We deeply appreciate you. So, I get asked all the time, Tavis, when are you going to bring back that State of the Black Union Symposium you used to do? You know the one where you had all those black intellectuals on stage every year and everybody watched all day live on C-SPAN? Yeah, I know the one. Let's bring them back. Well, I am pleased to tell you that if you go to KBLA1580.com right now, you can sign up to be in the audience here in Los Angeles when we go back live on C-SPAN with a stage full of black thinkers and influencers for a historic conversation. America has never seen a stage full of black folk talking about the urgency of now. Climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. It's going down Tuesday, June 18th, 4 to 7 p.m. at the California Science Center in Exposition Park. Admission is free, but you must register at KBLA1580.com. Once we reach capacity, you'll have to watch us on C-SPAN. But if you want to be in the room when we go live from Los Angeles, Tuesday, June 18th, head to KBLA1580.com right now to reserve your seat. Caring about the climate, caring about the community. With KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Other people say, hey! 1, 2, 3, go! I'm gonna try to keep it coming. Things ain't always so, but I'll be alright as long as I can find the groove. Yes, I will. Somehow I know that I can make it. You seem to like my style. Don't you worry, I'm gonna be around a while. I'm just happy to see you talk to me back in style again.
Live from historic Lamar Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavisSmileyShow.com, that's thetavisSmileyShow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, 2 conversations. Up first,
people, I just want to say, can we all get along? Can we get along? Can we stop making it horrible for the older people and the kids? And I mean, we've got enough smog here in Los Angeles, let alone to deal with the setting these fires and things. It's just not right. It's not right, and it's not gonna change anything. We've got to quit. We've got to quit. You know, after all, I mean, I can understand the first upset for the first 2 hours after the verdict, but to keep going on like this, and to see the security guard shot on the ground, it's just not right. It's just not right, because those people will never go home to their families again. And I mean, please, we can get along here. We all can get along. We just gotta, you know. I mean, we're all stuck here for a while. Let's try to work it out. Let's try to beat it. You know, let's try and work it out.
Award-winning journalist Paula Yu joins us to discuss her highly anticipated new text, Rising from the Ashes, Los Angeles, 1992, Edward J. Song Lee, Latasha Harlins, Rodney King, and A City on Fire. We'll do that at the top of our second hour. On the B side of hour two, before Jesse Owens, there was D. Hart Hubbard. Former Ohio Secretary of State Ken Blackwell reflects on the 100th anniversary of his uncle, D. Hart Hubbard's historic gold medal victory at the 1924 Paris Olympic Games. So you've heard of Jesse Owens. Today you'll learn about D. Hart Hubbard, who was there before the late, great Jesse Owens. In our third hour,
come on, keep your head up. 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 Yeah. Come on, keep your head up. Come on, keep your head up.
The Preservation Hall Jazz Band join us in our third hour. Ben Jaffe and Charlie Gabriel join us from the Big Easy to celebrate another successful jazz and heritage fest. We'll have some great conversation and great music with the Preservation Hall Jazz Band today in our third and final hour. On the B side of this hour, two conversations, I should say, in this hour. So on the back side, we'll talk with Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson as this program premieres today on The Voice, WNOV, 860 AM, 106.5 FM, in the critically important swing state of Wisconsin. Last week, we announced about a dozen new stations that are carrying this program. Pleased to be heard right now in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Brew Town. So we'll talk to their mayor, Cavalier Johnson, on the B side of this hour. All that said, we will commence today's program talking politics and more with retired judge, pastor, and co-author of Parables, Politics and Prophetic Faith, the Right Reverend Dr. Judge Wendell Griffen. Judge Griffen, good to have you on this program, sir. How are you today?
Brother Tavis, I'm well, thank you, and it's good to hear from you. Thank you for having me on.
It's my great delight to have you on. It's a blessing to hear your voice. Let me tell you where I want to go when we come forward. A few things that are making news, of course, even as we speak, and want to take your temperature on this and a few other things. The judge in Donald Trump's criminal trial addressed him personally moments ago and warned that he could, in fact, jail him for a direct attack on the rule of law. Those are the judge's words, a direct attack on the rule of law. This now makes the second time that Donald Trump has been admonished by the judge in 2 weeks, being held in contempt of court for violating a gag order that bars him from attacking jurors. So we're talking to an esteemed retired judge and a pastor, as I mentioned a moment ago. But I'm curious when we come forward, the first thing I want to ask him what he makes of this judge's decision, his ruling, his statements today, and whether or not a judge actually would jail a former president for contempt of court. Can you imagine that actually happening? We're talking about that and a great deal more as we spend some time with retired Judge Wendell Griffen on Tavis Smiley.
From the Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
Hey, y'all. Mona Swain here from Target's new YouTube series, My Cart is Full, where we feature Black founders and creators highlighting their connection to our community. As an actor and content creator, I love using my voice to inspire young Black women who look like me. When it comes to feeding my shine, seeing myself reflected in Black-owned and founded products at Target brings me joy. Together, we are Black Beyond Measure. Learn more at target.com/blackbeyondmeasure.
Cookie wants to be a professional wrestler.
I'm Cookie Serratos, and I'm 11 years old.
She also wants to win all the medals. That's why Cookie and her family make every day count. We are a nutritious snack made from 100% fruit with no sugar added.
Go, Cookie!
Because when you nurture your kids, you squeeze out the best in them. Squeeze out the best with Go-Go Squeeze. Not a low-calorie food. Products range from 11 to 13 grams of sugar and 60 to 70 calories per serving.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number and put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement. Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
I have diabetes. I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I have asthma. I'm at risk, too.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Made fresh daily in the Merck Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis, my name is retired Judge Wendell Griffen, who I'm honored to have on this program. Let me jump right in, Judge Griffen. I can't ask you, of course, to get inside the mind of another judge, but you are following this, I'm sure, as the rest of us are. And today, again, makes the second time in 2 weeks that the former president, Donald Trump, has been held in contempt for violating a gag order that bars him from attacking jurors. Your thoughts about how the judge, in this case, Judge Merchan, is handling this at the moment, and after a couple of warnings, can you imagine something different happening the next time should this happen again? And since it's Donald Trump, it likely will happen again.
I think that Judge Merchan has been doing a textbook work of showing how to handle a recalcitrant, belligerent, defiant defendant. And let's remember that Donald Trump is a defendant in a criminal trial. And that Donald Trump has, as you said, Brother Tavis, been held in contempt. But I need to emphasize he's been held in criminal contempt. Mm-hmm. That means he's been held in direct contempt, willful contempt, in the presence of the court of an order that the court had issued, ordering him not to comment about the jury or people involved in the trial, witnesses. And it's the second time in 2 weeks. He's already faced $9,000 in fines. He's going to get another $1,000 in fines, which is going to be $10,000. And so the judge has, number one, set out the direct order that Trump is to follow. These are the ground rules, sir. You have to do this. Trump has defied that, disobeyed that. refused to comply with it. 9 times before, now a 10th time. The judge says this morning, okay, I told you, I fined you, you did it again, I'm holding you in contempt again. I don't want to send you to jail. Believe me, I can, and I will if I have to. Now, the issue now is on Trump. As you said, Brother Tavis, Trump is more likely than not to defy again. He's a sociopath. Mm-hmm. And sociopaths don't obey anybody's rules but their own. And so Trump is basically, he's going as far as he can go to try to get himself put in jail so he can be seen as a martyr. And he's going to see whether or not Judge Merchan will call his bluff.
I'm glad you went there. That leads to me to 2 or 3 questions I want to ask right quick. And so my mind was on the same plane as yours, and that makes me feel good to know that my mind's on the same plane as yours, Judge Griffen, at least in this regard. So I could see Judge Merchan jailing Donald Trump briefly if he violates his this gag order once again. But to your point, if he were to do that, in some respects, he would be playing right into Donald Trump's hands. And I've seen any number of other examples. If I had the time, I could unpack where I think we've done just that. I'm still upset with Merrick Garland. This is just me talking, not you, the Attorney General, because the plan was that they thought they were being slick by dragging this thing out, and they'd have Donald Trump on trial during the election. And that plan ain't worked out so well because ain't but one of these cases going to actually be heard, it seems, between now and November, and it's the weakest of all the cases. We could debate that later if we had the time. But the point is that I've seen other people make a lot of mistakes politically playing into his hands. And so it's an interesting situation because on the one hand, we say that nobody is above the law. And to your point, you laid it out, he is a defendant. He has been in contempt of court criminally a couple of times. I get all of that. And yet, on the other hand, if you jail him, then you play into his hands. That's a trick bag, is it not?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Trump thinks it's a trick bag, but Trump does not know how the game can work. Trump is playing checkers move in a chess game. And let me just lay the chess game out for you.
Please.
As a judge, in Judge Merchan's shoes, I would do exactly as Judge Merchan did. Donald Trump thinks he would be placed in jail at the end of the trial. I would say to Mr. Trump, I'm holding you in contempt. At the end of this day, you're going to jail. You'll come back to court tomorrow morning from the jail. Mr. Trump would have his night in jail, and then he would know what jail was like. Mr. Trump would also know, if I can go to jail one night, this judge can send me to jail for longer than one night. Now, I might go to jail and play that victim card enough, but this trial is going to last a whole lot more than this week. How many nights do I want to spend at Rikers Island? It's up to me.
Yeah.
And the judge can say, now, sir, you can go home or you can go to jail. But you will go to jail if you violate my order again.
But my point is, just to press back, my point is, though, that even if you did it just one night, if you just sat behind bars just one night, let alone 1 or 2 nights, that again plays into Donald Trump's narrative. So I'm not suggesting, Judge Griffen, that the judge doesn't have the authority, the power to do it. What I'm saying is, if you think that his base, that MAGA base, is riled up already, then jail him for a night or 2, and let him continue to make the case that he's being persecuted, and see what that does. I just think, I felt the same way. Let me give an example. I referenced earlier that I could give any number of examples. I won't give a bunch. I'll just give one. I felt the same way when there were states trying to keep him off the ballot. Now, you can make the case all day long in Colorado and elsewhere, but my point was simply this. He has not as yet been found guilty of anything. You can find a way to keep him off the ballot, But all that does is play into their hands that he, in fact, is being persecuted and not allowed on the ballot, and he's not as yet been found guilty. Even for Donald Trump, I believe in the rule of law. I believe in fundamental fairness. I believe in due process. I believe in the presumption of innocence, even for him. It can't be one standard for us, another standard for him. So even for him, I believe in those standards, Judge Griffen, and I'm sure you do as well. And so my thing was, beat him at the ballot box. But if you start playing this game of trying to keep him off the ballot, all that's going to do is rile that base up. And I'm not scared of him. I'm just talking about the fact that we all agree he is an existential threat to this democracy, and I don't want us to be caught playing checkers while he's playing chess.
Yeah, I hear your point, Brother Tavis. Here's what I would go with that.
Okay.
I would say to that point, one night in jail doesn't make Donald Trump a martyr. It simply means he spends a night in jail. He'll be able to braze that as a badge of honor if he wants to with his base. But for the rest of us, the rest of the society, remember, Donald Trump's base cannot win an election. He does not have enough votes, but he wants to project the image. Now, for the rest of us, the folks who tell their children to obey the rules, folks who tell their children to obey their parents, folks who tell their children to don't lie, don't steal, and keep your hands to yourself and to share, will say, wait a minute, you see what happens to you if you don't do what you're supposed to do. You are not better than Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is not better than you. Otherwise, Donald Trump gets to make a new law. Basically, if you are brash enough, rich enough, white enough, don't forget white enough, and male enough, you can do whatever you darn well please, even in the courtroom, in your own criminal trial. Because you understand that 50 years ago, the Chicago 7 defendants were put in jail by a crazy judge for simply insisting on their rights. Donald Trump is actually doing stuff that is in defiance of the law, threatening jurors, talking about witnesses. That's in defiance of the law, designed on giving him a fair trial and make sure the process is fair for everybody. And I agree with you. He's entitled to the presumption of innocence. He's entitled to a fair trial, but he does not want a fair trial. He wants, number one, to make the trial politically. And Judge Mershon is saying, basically, sir, this is not a political event. This is a court of law. And in this court of law, the rules of law and the rules of decorum are defined by me. I say what the law is. I say what goes and doesn't go. And quite frankly, sir, you go to jail if you don't comply with my rules. Now, you're going to jail tonight if you don't do it. Tomorrow morning, you set a close, the Secret Service is jail.
Yeah, that raises a couple questions for me. The first question I want to ask Judge Griffen just a second here. His phone's starting to wobble. We'll get that straightened out. But I'm just curious. This is just a practical question. How does a former president go to jail anyway? I mean, he has Secret Service protection everywhere he goes. So does that mean the Secret Service is in the jail cell with him? Does that mean, I don't even know how you practically put a former president behind bars. I'm not suggesting he shouldn't be if he violates the judge's orders once again. But there's some practical issues that have to be, I would think, figured out about sending a former president with Secret Service protection to jail, number one. And number two, I'm not so sure that the jury is still out on whether or not Donald Trump has been treated already as if he is above the law. I'm not saying he is, Judge Griffen, but I'm not so sure the jury is still out as to whether or not he's already been perceived to be above the law, number one. And number two, as I said, how do you practically send a former president with Secret Service protection to prison? How does that work?
Actually, it doesn't work hard at all. The Secret Service goes with him to the prison, to the jail. They spend the night with him in the jail. The Secret Service can handle a whole lot of difficult situations. And Donald Trump will he'll be the most protected person in solitary confinement in the jail, because he'll be essentially solitary confinement. And if he wants to went to jail and wants to wear it as a badge of honor, I don't know too many folks who would wear a badge of honor going to jail. It's sort of like being put out of school for violating the rules of the school that everybody else complies with and saying that you are supposed to be named the valedictorian of the class.
Yeah. Well, you did hear some days ago Donald Trump make reference to Nelson Mandela. It was absolutely insane for him to do such, but it didn't stop him because, to your point, Donald Trump was a sociopath. But I can see ways in which Donald Trump will play the Mandela card, the MLK card, going to prison, going to jail for those things he believes in. And the way he would describe it, he believes in free speech. I have the right to free speech. I have the right to express myself. I believe that this is a political trial, and I will go to jail like Mandela. I will go to jail like Martin to prove my point. You know the rhetoric he's going to spew.
Yeah, he will, and he does have the First Amendment freedom of speech, but he can't. I mean, I can't. My free speech does not give me the permission to go and basically threaten to kill you, Tavis, with a gun in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the freedom of speech. He doesn't have that freedom of speech. That's called an assault. And threaten, and so we don't have that kind of freedom. Donald Trump is basically a sociopath, but we need to put his political philosophy in its right term. This is fascism. Mm-hmm. This is the language. The F word needs to be brought out here. This is fascism. And basically, Donald Trump is saying, I am the only authority that matters. My will is the only authority that matters. My view is the only authority that matters. And my followers are the only people that matter. And if he projects that in a courtroom with impunity, without consequences, the notion of the rule of law is turned on its head. Donald Trump becomes essentially a de facto tyrant in the courtroom, and the judge is simply a figurehead.
Yeah. I'm not asking you to look inside a crystal ball that I know you don't have, but you have been known to be prophetic in a number of ways, at instances and circumstances. Your book, in fact, is called Parables, Politics, and Prophetic Faith. I promise we'll get into that text the next time you come on. This breaking news about Donald Trump took up all of our time today because, again, in case you just tuned in, the judge has found him in contempt of court twice now and made it clear if it happens again, he's going to jail. And so given the Donald Trump that we know, there's a good chance that he's going to violate this gag order one more again. And if he does, the judge has said he is going to prison. Here's my exit question, Judge, with 60 seconds left. What do you think the chances are that in the not-too-distant future, Donald Trump will, in fact, spend one night in jail?
I think the chances are better than good. I think the chances are probable he will spend a night in jail because Donald Trump will probably violate the gag order again. And his lawyer is probably seething because the last thing you want to do is have him go to jail because, remember, the trial will end with the jury getting jury instructions. And a jury who sees the man held in contempt defy the law will not have any trouble saying, if this man will defy the judge in front of us, he will break the law before us.
Yeah. Well, my assumption in that regard is if they think he's going to lose this case anyway, they're looking at the makeup of the jury, they're looking at how this thing is playing itself out, they expect to lose anyway. You might as well get something out of it, Judge Griffen. And again, if you can get something out of it, just to excite your base a bit more, it ain't the worst day then, as they see it.
Well, they may think it that way, but the reason they think it that way is because they're crazy.
Yeah, I digress. Retired Judge Wendell Griffen, our guest in this first half hour today. His book is called Parables, Politics, and Prophetic Faith. We didn't get into any of that. I want to have him back to talk about the text, number one, and talk about the balance of being both a jurist and a pastor. There's a great conversation forthcoming with Judge Griffen when we get him back on the show. We had to cover this breaking news today. Judge Griffen, we'll do it again, sir. All the best to you. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks for having me on, Brother Tavis, and congratulations on your new market.
Thank you, sir. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Unapologetically progressive, unapologetically blind. You're tapping into Tavis Smiley.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Columbia University will not hold its main graduation ceremony. The decision to cancel the university-wide commencement ceremony came after weeks of pro-Palestinian protest on the New York City campus. Security concerns were reportedly the main cause for the cancellation. Ceremonies for individual schools will be held. School officials said they held discussions with student leaders before canceling the ceremony. Tiffany Haddish says she sometimes tracks down her internet trolls and calls them directly. Speaking to the Los Angeles Times, the African-American actress said online bullying got her down so much that she hired a digital forensic analyst for death threats aimed at her. The analyst determined that about 3/4 of the threats were bots from Malaysia and Iran. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Need money for the holidays? Avoid the yikes before Christmas. Hurry into Jackson Hewitt for a holiday loan on your tax refund, up to $1,000. Early refund advance offered to eligible clients. Application required. Finance charge applies. Loans by Republic Bank. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
Mother's Day is coming up, and Macy's Backstage has amazing deals on great gifts that Mom is going to love. All for $15 and under. Get low prices every day at Macy's Backstage. Find a store near you today at macy'sbackstage.com. Off price, on trend, arriving daily.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Clippers owner Steve Ballmer does not want to see Coach Ty Lue go to the Lakers. Ballmer has instructed Clippers GM Lawrence Frank to start working on a contract extension for Lue. Lue has a year remaining on his contract, but Ballmer is making sure the Lakers don't get a chance to offer Lue and the Clippers a buyout settlement. Lue's name came up as a potential candidate for the Lakers job after Darvin Ham was fired on Friday. Lue said he would prefer to stay with the Clippers. Lue has led the Clippers to the playoffs in 3 of the 4 seasons he's been with the team. They were in the Western Conference Finals in 2021. The Black College World Series starts Wednesday in Montgomery, Alabama. 16 teams will converge in Montgomery for the 3-day tournament. Albany State, Savannah State, and West Virginia State are among the participating HBCU schools. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversations when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580, where climate is king. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment through the arts. Tia Chucha Central Cultural is on a mission to transform community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and beyond through ancestral knowledge, the arts, literacy, and creative engagement. The Northeast San Fernando Valley has a population of about 500,000, the size of the city of Oakland, yet it has no bookstores, art galleries, or full-fledged cultural spaces until Tia Chucha's opened. Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chucha's Cultural Center provides a year-round free or low-cost arts and literacy bilingual intergenerational programming in mural painting, music, dance, writing, visual arts, healing art sessions, and healing talking circles. Activities also include Mexica, Aztec dance, indigenous cosmology, philosophy, and 2 weekly open mic nights, one in Spanish, the other in English. In addition, they host author readings, film screenings, and art exhibits. To express yourself, heal yourself, attend an event, or volunteer, please visit www.tiachucha.org. That's TIACHUCHA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
When you get nachos, tacos, empanadas, spicy queso with jalapenos, Pepto-Bismol's there. Pepto-Bismol provides fast, effective relief from nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, and diarrhea. All the things that can happen unexpectedly on vacation. So before you travel, pack the Pepto. Pepto-Bismol. When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Go to hims.com/joy. Through HIMS, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, and the process is 100% online. To start your free online visit, go to hims.com/joy. That's HIMS.com/JOY.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
I am pleased now to welcome the mayor of Brew Town, Mayor Cavalier Johnson. Milwaukee, Wisconsin is one of the new cities where this program is now being heard. We announced a few days ago about a dozen new cities have picked up this program, and it is my great delight, having spent some good time in Milwaukee over the years, to now be heard in Brew Town, and I'm honored to have the mayor of that city on this program. Mayor Johnson, it's good to be heard in your hometown, sir. Thank you.
Tavis, we are happy to have you in Milwaukee. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, man. It feels good to be on in Milwaukee. Milwaukee, is, we all know, sits inside of a swing state. I was literally in conversation last night on a plane flying back to L.A. Some people spotted me on the plane, and as is often the case, they rush over to you and want to talk politics. So there I was in the midst of a bunch of people on the plane talking politics, not exactly my idea of a fun ride home. But I indulged them, and everybody was talking about Michigan and Wisconsin. And so that was one of the topics last night. Give me your sense of why this time around Wisconsin is once again in play.
Well, I think Wisconsin is important this time because folks understand that whoever wins Wisconsin is going to win the White House. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that hinges on what happens in Milwaukee, quite frankly. If turnout is high in Milwaukee, that bodes well for President Joe Biden. If it's lower, and I think that some Republicans probably prefer it that way, then it's beneficial to the former president, Donald Trump. But Wisconsin is the purplest of purple states, the swingiest of swing states, and that's why you got a lot of attention being paid to Wisconsin, and particularly Milwaukee, this election cycle.
As a big city black mayor, and there are any number of you, I'm thinking of Chicago and here in L.A. where I sit, and New York City and Milwaukee and beyond. As a big city mayor, what's your view of what the president has done or not done in this first term?
Look, I am thrilled about President Joe Biden's leadership and so happy that he sits in the Oval Office right now. Just as an aside, for us in Milwaukee, we faced, before I took office, roughly 3 decades where the state was just hampering our ability to raise revenue. We faced a fiscal cliff. We were going to fall off, and we were going to be in a position where, as of January 1 this year, we would have had to cut roughly half of our police department, a quarter of our fire department, shutter all of our libraries, and also have hundreds of other city employees out of a job that serve people all across Milwaukee. Because of President Joe Biden's American Rescue Plan Act, that future did not come to fruition. We were able to needed to work in a bipartisan deal with Republicans in our legislature, they're in the majority, and save the city. And that's not to mention the fact that, President Biden's administration is working to remove lead service lines out of the ground, of which we have 65,000 in Milwaukee. Other investments in our transportation infrastructure. Milwaukee is a workforce hub designated by the White House. So many other things, and all these things would have not happened if it were not for President Joe Biden.
Yep. Give me a sense of how you mentioned working with the Republicans in the legislature there to help save the city of Milwaukee. Give me your sense of how Milwaukee, the city, is regarded by the rest of the state. And I ask that in part because of what you just said, but also because I'm thinking of other cities across the country, and I know most of these mayors in these cities. I think of Chicago and the way that the rest of Illinois can't stand Chicago. I think of L.A. here in California. The rest of the state has issues with L.A. sucking all the energy out of the room sometimes. I'm thinking of Detroit, where the rest of Michigan gets sick of Detroit. How is Milwaukee viewed in the state of Wisconsin?
Same way. It's the same thing. Quite frankly. So it was. I say that I'm proud of the accomplishment that we got done because again, this was roughly 2-3 decades worth of trying and failing. And when I got elected, we were actually able to get it done. So I'm proud of that. That's not to say that it was easy, because the relationship between the city of Milwaukee, the largest, the most diverse, the most economically consequential place in the state of Wisconsin, is not necessarily seen for what it's worth sometimes in other parts of Wisconsin. We have to work to change that narrative, and we certainly are. But the Republicans in the legislature were tough to deal with in order to make that happen. But ultimately, we found ourselves in a position where we were able to be in a stronger financial position. They didn't solve every single problem. We're still going to have to make cuts and things like that. But I'd rather be in a position where I've got some manageable cuts in the tens of millions of dollars as opposed to cuts that I have to make in the hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah. You are the mayor, and even then, I don't ask you to speak for every black person in the city of Milwaukee, but give me a sense of what black life is like these days in Milwaukee. As I mentioned earlier, I've been in Milwaukee many, many times in my career. I've got some good friends from Milwaukee, good friends in Milwaukee. I never think of Milwaukee without thinking of my friend Al Jarreau. Some great artists, Eric Benet, some great artists from Milwaukee. But what's black life like in Milwaukee these days?
Yeah, well, I tell you what, when I think about black life in Milwaukee, I mean, we're a city that was once upon a time an industrial town that had a lot of good-paying manufacturing jobs that, unfortunately, because of globalization, saw that work base shrink, those opportunities shrink, and with it came a loss of opportunities for primarily African Americans here in our community. So we definitely have to work to rebuild that, to build economic strength back in the African American community in Milwaukee. We are seeing some strides, some progress here in the city. For instance, our Bronzeville neighborhood has seen just incredible growth over the past number of years. We continue to try to work to bring that up and show black folks in Milwaukee, and not just in the city, but across the region, across the state, what's possible. And that's what we'll be focused on doing. So we have challenges, absolutely, 100%. But I think we're headed in the right direction in the city.
Yeah. Give me a sense of what kind of political power black folk wield in Milwaukee and beyond. Obviously, you're the African American mayor. I was on WNOV the other day promoting I'd be starting today on this great station. Once again, honored to be on WNOV today. But Michelle and I were talking on her program the morning here on the station about Mandela Barnes. And so the whole country, of course, was attuned to Mandela Barnes and the potential of this black man being elected to the United States Senate out of Wisconsin. That, of course, did not happen. But give me a sense in 2024 of the kind of political clout, the political power that black folk have or do not have in Milwaukee and beyond.
Sure. So, as you mentioned, Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, who, before the Senate race was the first black person to be lieutenant governor, getting that close to the governor's office in the state. Of course, you can't talk about black power, black political power in Wisconsin without talking about Belle Phillips and the incredible legacy that she left here, the first black person elected, not just to local office as a member of the city council, first black person, first woman to do that. Also became the first female judge here in Milwaukee County, and then became the first black person elected to statewide office. In the state Senate, we've had, in the legislature as well, in the Assembly, we've had a number of African-American leaders there. Lieutenant Governor Barnes, rode up to that position. Congresswoman Gwen Moore, who represents us in the House of Representatives, has been here since 2005. An incredible, powerful, dynamic voice in Congress for us. I'm the first elected black mayor in Milwaukee's history. We have our first elected black county executive here in Milwaukee too. The police chief is a black male. The sheriff is a black female. The superintendent of schools is an African American male as well. So African American power, it seems, political power, has continued to rise in Milwaukee over the years. And I think as the years progress, we'll see that continue to rise all across the state of Wisconsin.
We are talking right now to the first black elected mayor of the city of Milwaukee, Mayor Cavalier Johnson, on the occasion, the happy occasion of our being heard right now for the first day on WNOV, 860 AM, 106.5 FM. We're glad about it. More with the mayor when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the fastest growing talk radio station in Southern California, home to 50,000 watts and an audience reach of 12 million listeners. KBLA Talk 1580 is a pioneer for black audio content, including our groundbreaking $2 million climate justice campaign and the most loyal, influential audience. According to an independent research study by the polling firm Aviterus, for the second consecutive year, KBLA Talk 1580 is the most trustworthy, reliable, and credible news source for black audiences, and let KBLA Talk 1580 power your advertising dollars. Our omni-channel custom marketing solutions are specifically tailored to connect with your ideal target audience. We leverage audio, podcasts, streaming, digital, social media, and local activations to get your message out to the black community. Get in touch with our advertising team today at advertising@kbla1580.com. That's advertising at kbla1580.com. KBLA 1580. We've got your black.
When you use Bounce dryer sheets and your clothes look amazing, it's the sheet. Less static in your life? Yeah, it's the sheet. Smelling fresher than ever? It's the sheet. Oh, so soft fabric? Ooh la la. It's the sheet. Less wrinkles on your clothes? You know it's the sheet. Bounce dryer sheets. More freshness, more softness. Less static, less wrinkles. It's the sheet.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies candidates with the right skills, sends you great matches, then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Sounds different. Huh. This is Tavis Smiley.
This is Tavis Smiley in conversation with the mayor of Milwaukee, Cavalier Johnson, the first African-American to be elected mayor of that fine city. Mayor, don't take this personally. I've told this joke more than once. In my career, I've seen it happen multiple times, that when things get so bad, the good white folk will let a black person get elected. It was true for Barack Obama running the country. It's true for Karen Bass here in L.A. It's true in Chicago. You take the joke. Things are so bad, we'll let y'all Negroes run it for a little while. I celebrate you being the first black mayor of the city, but what were the conditions that allowed that to happen for this national audience?
Yeah, well, again, for us, we were facing this really just dire situation where Milwaukee was going to be bankrupt. We just did not have the revenues, and Milwaukee is 178 years old. It was 177, I think, when I was first elected or so. And and it was all white men at the time. And when we finally were getting ready to cross that threshold and fall off that fiscal cliff, then and only then did an African American, to your point, have the opportunity to get elected to lead the city. But that's why I say I'm really, really proud of our efforts working in a bipartisan way to secure the city's future so that we did not fall off that financial cliff, and we're able to provide services to people in Milwaukee who live here, who are my constituents, but some of the most iconic businesses in the state of Wisconsin that call Milwaukee home, to our daily commuters who come in from the suburban communities each and every single day, and to roughly a quarter of all visitors to the state of Wisconsin who interface with this state by coming to Milwaukee. We saved that.
Yeah. Again, I'm not asking you to be a prognosticator, but you know the national narrative that the president's numbers, Biden's numbers with black people are soft. All kinds of articles about black men in a significant slice of black men who may support Donald Trump. Give me your sense of Biden and black voters in Milwaukee. To your point, as goes Milwaukee, goes the state. If Biden doesn't win Wisconsin, he may not win this presidency. So once again, black people will have to come to Biden's rescue. What's your sense of whether they will in fact do that in Wisconsin?
Well, I think that black folks have often been the conscience of the country. And I think that black folks across the country, and including here in Milwaukee, will stand with President Joe Biden. I think that for all the investments that we've seen here, direct correlations with the policies of President Joe Biden's administration, they're uplifting the lives of black people on the ground here. So whether you have somebody in your family who needs insulin, all right, because they got a medical condition, like the cost of that is capped. You've got young black people who are looking to start a family or buy a house and don't want to be straddled with student loan debt. Thank you, President Joe Biden, for helping to relieve that. If you are in a city like ours and you need connections to other parts of towns and do it in a safe way, thank you, Joe Biden, for doing that. And black folks in Milwaukee will not forget. They won't forget that years ago Donald Trump called for the Central Park 5 to be executed. They won't forget what he called the nations that our ancestors hailed from when they were brought in bondage to the United States. Black folks won't forget that the fact that that Donald Trump is saying that he relates to black people now because he's a criminal. So he's essentially calling black folks criminals, and that's what their relation is. So we're not falling for that.
Yeah. I take your point. Our remaining moments with the mayor of Milwaukee when we come forward. His name is Cavalier Johnson, but he ain't a Cavaliers fan. He's a Bucks fan. And so I know how he feels these days in all the city of Milwaukee. We're here in L.A. We feel the same way. It didn't happen for the Bucks this year, and it ain't happening for the Lakers this year. We'll talk about that part, what it means to have a championship team, though, what that does to a city in our remaining moments with the mayor when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I finally have to say, I was just grateful they saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles is a nonprofit law firm that protects and advances the rights of the most underserved, leveling the playing field and ensuring that everyone can have access to the justice system. Every year, LAFLA provides free, high-quality legal services to more than 100,000 people living in poverty across greater Los Angeles. Their unique combination of neighborhood offices, self-help centers at courthouses,
services and domestic violence clinics puts Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles on the front lines in vulnerable communities and at the forefront of change. LAFLA's expert team of attorneys, paralegals, and support staff works to provide direct representation, offer counsel and advice, provide referrals, and educate the community about their legal rights through workshops and seminars. With locations all over LA, you can access their services or volunteer to help no matter where you live. And if you have an urgent issue, call 213-235-0060. That's 213-235-0060. To get legal help, make a donation, or volunteer, visit LAFLA.org. LAFLA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
So my home is also my office, and before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up and spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Ready to re-examine your assumptions and expand your inventory of ideas? More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
Mayor Johnson, I'm going to give you the last word here in the 4 minutes I have left, but there is some breaking news. This just out. Hamas has announced that it has accepted a ceasefire proposal. The announcement comes just hours after Israel ordered Palestinians to begin evacuating the southern Gaza town of Rafah ahead of an Israeli military operation. Is that my phone, all that noise on? I'm sorry, Miles. Thank you. I was wondering what that noise was. I'm reading a story off my phone, and there's audio. The audio you were hearing was a bunch of people cheering. Those people cheering are in Rafah. They're cheering right now in Rafah because of the announcement just made that Hamas has accepted a ceasefire proposal. We'll get to more of that just after the top of the next hour. I want to give a proper goodbye to the mayor, but there's the news. After this 7-month war with Israel, Hamas has announced it has accepted a ceasefire proposal. They are cheering right now as we speak in Rafah. More on that after the top of the hour. Just a few minutes from now. Let me say goodbye to Mayor Cavalier Johnson. Mayor, I mentioned moments ago, got a couple minutes left here. I mentioned moments ago that it ain't happening for the Lakers this year. It ain't happening for the Bucks this year. First there was Kareem, and then there was Giannis. What happens to a city like Milwaukee when after years of drought, a championship team puts the city on the map all over again?
Oh, we get our swagger back, man.
Yeah.
Folks love it. Folks love it. We got that whole Deer District built out. It's really become the center of the universe for us, and we cheer on our Bucks and all of our sports team here. But it's really, really exciting.
Yeah. Tell me how hopeful you are at this point about how Wisconsin again will show up in this presidential race, because everybody's watching Wisconsin, Michigan, and a couple other places.
We're going to do all that we can to make sure that folks know the stakes. I'm going to be actively encouraging people I know in my family, and I challenge folks to do this as well. Find the people that you know who can vote, should vote, but don't vote, and work to get them to the polls. If you have to work to get them registered and all that, do that. I'm doing exactly the same thing, and we're going to win this thing.
Yeah, I mentioned Michelle earlier. I know Michelle, so I mentioned her name. People text me like, what Michelle are you talking about? I was talking about being on WNOV earlier and promoting that I'd be starting the program today on WNOV. Michelle Bryant is who I'm talking about. Great morning show host there. Works in the state legislature as well. So shout out to Michelle Bryant, and thank you for that great conversation we had last week on WNOV 860 AM 106.5 FM, where we today are officially being heard. I thank you, WNOB, and I thank you, Mayor Cavalier Johnson, for welcoming us to Brew Town. We appreciate your time, sir. All the best. You will do it again somewhere down the road, I hope.
Thank you, Tavis. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. More of Tavis Smiley. We'll talk a bit more about this breaking news that Hamas has accepted a ceasefire proposal when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Columbia University will not hold its main graduation ceremony. The decision to cancel the university-wide commencement ceremony came after weeks of pro-Palestinian protest on the New York City campus. Security concerns were reportedly the main cause for the cancellation. The African-American actress said online bullying got her down so much that she hired a digital forensic analyst for death threats aimed at her. The analyst determined that about 3/4 of